Welcome to the show, folks. This is Wrestling Changed My Life. Here we go.
We can endure anything and adapt and pivot and change. Wrestling gave us that ability.
I would say nothing in life has impacted me more than the things wrestling has taught me in terms of self-reflection, resilience.
Toughness. Some guys have it, some guys don't.
Adversity, 100%. How to pick myself up and be a man after I failed.
And everything that has shaped my life and where I'm at today would not be there without the values and basically the lessons I've learned through the sport of wrestling.
For me, wrestling saved my life because it allowed me to focus and channel my energy.
We're fortunate if you wrestled, because if you wrestled, natural talent helps, but it's 5% of the ingredient. It pales in comparison to heart and technique and effort.
It humbled me, taught me humility. Nothing can humble you more than wrestling. I think it's the learning to adapt, right? You learn how to adapt, you learn how to solve problems.
You know, if I look back at my time I spent wrestling, if it gave me one thing more than anything else, it's mental toughness.
Ladies and gents, welcome to another episode of Wrestling Changed My Life. This is your host, Ryan Warner. My guest today is the great Jody Strittmatter, head coach and founder of the Young Guns Wrestling Club, one of the top wrestling clubs in these fine United States, home to the likes of Spencer Lee, Jason Nault, Vincenzo Joseph. Must I go on? I'd like to, but I can't. I got to get home for Thanksgiving. Now, let's not forget that Jody was a savage wrestler in his own right. Two-time Division II champ for Pitt Johnstown. Then he transferred to Iowa and got third and second. And he was a member of those great Iowa national championship teams of the late 90s when Jim Zaleski was the coach. Really enjoy the conversation. Hope you do as well. Maybe you're going to listen to it on your ride home to Thanksgiving. Either way, hope you enjoy it. Fan of the Week time, and it goes to Sam Herring, host of the Home Mat Advantage podcast. One of the most studly guys in the game right now. He's in middle school and hosts his own podcast. Really impressive kid. Thank you for listening, Sam. Greatly appreciate the support and all the advice. Last but not least, this episode is brought to you by the Wrestling Changed My Life store. It's store.wrestlingchangedmylife.com. We have stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, coffee mugs, whatever you'd like, we got it. And if you see something you don't like, give me a shout. Let me know. And if you want to stay up to date with the podcast, you can follow us on social media. On Instagram, it's Wrestling Changed My Life. I'm actually doing a countdown of the top 5 wrestlers in Illinois history this week on Instagram, so you can see us there. And that's it, folks. Let's give it up for the great Jody Strittmatter. Peace! All right, we're here with Jody Strittmatter. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Now, I know you're a big Iowa guy, so I got to ask, when was the first time you watched Competitor Supreme?
Oh, man, I was in young junior high sometime, probably 7th, 8th grade, something like that.
That's a pivotal moment for me, and I'm sure it was for you too. That's just I talked to a lot of guys from that era, and they just freaking love that movie. Is that how your fascination with Iowa wrestling started?
Yeah, I mean, I always liked Iowa wrestling. Obviously, they were winning national title after national title, and when my dad, one of his best friends is also a farmer. So my dad's a dairy farmer, and one of his best friends is a dairy farmer, and he was also my wrestling coach. And he gave my dad a copy of that, the VHS, and me and my brother watched it over and over and over. And then, like you said, it just changed what we thought hard work was, and just watching that film was pretty cool.
No question. And so, I mean, before you went on to wrestle at the collegiate level, I mean, you were just a beginner like the rest of us. So how did you and your brother get into the sport together?
Actually, my older brother, he just had a ton of energy, so it was not in our family at all. And I know in Pennsylvania, it's so deep and rich, the tradition, but it wasn't for us. We grew up on a farm, dairy farm, and there was no wrestling history in our family. And but my older brother, he just had a ton of energy, and just like kind of mischievous, getting in trouble, like little things, So my parents, they were looking to get him into something, and on the farm was a worker, and he was wrestling, and so he was like, "Hey, I'll take the kids to to wrestling practice, and we started going and just kind of, fell in love with it.
And then did you love it from day one, or did it take a couple of years for it to click for you?
So we went to a Catholic school in our hometown, and they didn't have wrestling. So the neighboring schools let us go to their practice. So it was only 2 days a week, and it was through elementary and junior high, because like I said, we went there all the way through 8th grade, or I did. So I wasn't on a junior high team or anything like that. I was just going to our local elementary practice basically 2 days a week. And then I had an older brother, and we acquired a mat in our garage, in our basement. We moved it. So me and my brother worked out a lot, but a little bit maybe unconventional how we maybe got into wrestling, on the farm, and then, kind of stayed in wrestling. But it wasn't a ton of success. I'd never made it even to the Pennsylvania State tournament, I think, until my 8th grade year. And, but I really did like the sport, and I loved, kind of the lessons it taught you. But then around, junior high age is whenever I started really getting into it. I started working out every day, running, lifting, wrestling with my brother. It kind of became our passion.
So the amount of matches you had going into high school versus the kids you coach now, night and day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's even a kid who maybe wrestled on a junior high team would be night and day today, in today's era. It's just I know in Pennsylvania there's probably 20-some tournaments every single weekend, during the season, which is crazy, and every one of them has 200, 300, 400 kids in them. So it's crazy how many kids are wrestling nowadays, and the amount of matches you can get all year long.
Yeah. But it's cool that you started, I guess, I don't know if peaking is the right word, but you only qualified for state once, and you weren't really put under those high stress environments until a little bit later. And so you really saw your career flourish later on, because I was noticing that your sophomore year in high school you qualified for state, but then next year you got third, which to me is a huge jump. Right. What happened during those 2 years there?
I wrestled the state champ my very first match my sophomore year. And he beat me really bad. So, but then I just dropped down and just didn't wrestle well. So, but I was doing well. I mean, I that's whenever I started doing, having a really, really good year. My freshman year, actually, I wrestled 103 back then, and I probably weighed 85 pounds.
Yeah.
So, and then actually at the end of the year, my brother came down to 103. So I went 112 when I was probably up to 90 pounds, something like that. So it was pretty funny. I weighed in with quarters in my socks and, a big watch on, just to try to get up the weight so I could wrestle 112 at the district tournament.
So that was your sophomore year?
Undersized. No, that was my freshman year. Really
okay.
Undersized my freshman year. And then I had a really good year my sophomore year. It didn't end good, but I had a really good year. And that's, like I said, things started to click for me, and started to really wrestle well. And crazy, like nowadays, they qualify a lot for the state tournament. Whenever I was young, there was 8 areas in Pennsylvania, and they took the champion from every area. So there's 8 kids in a bracket, and they placed the top 4. So
wow.
I would get second, like every single year at areas. I would get second. So I wouldn't make it. And like I said, my 8th grade year, I finally made it, and actually got second in the state that year in junior high. And then, like I said, that's whenever I started to got a hold of the Gable Competitor Supreme video, and just started, really dedicate my life. And I went to Fargo, I think it was 2-2, maybe something like that, my first year as a cadet. And again, just that was kind of that time frame that I really started to, see that kind of stuff. Went to the junior high state tournament and started having a little success, and went to Fargo and seeing what it was like. So, and then the following year, I won cadet nationals as a second-year cadet. So, things just started. I was wrestling better and better every year. Then
things started clicking, and then you get third in state your junior year. And I'm just generally curious, what happened? Who got you your junior year at state?
Yeah, he was a good kid. And we went actually back and forth our whole high school career. And then I think the semifinals, or maybe it was the quarterfinals or semifinals, my senior year, I wrestled the same kid. I think that's important in our sport. It's very physical, but it's very, very mental. And so I had to wrestle the kid who beat me the year before, to reach my goals, and I beat him that year. We went back and forth kind of our whole career in high school, and he was a good kid.
So going into that match your senior year, I mean, by this point, you've put your entire life into the sport. Your older brother's, now at UPJ, but this is your last chance to do it. So, like, where were you at mentally going into that match, and what little mental reps or mental tricks did you do back in those days to get yourself ready?
Yeah, I wish I knew exactly. It's been a long time ago, but I don't know. I think that just the one thing that I think that solves or helps nerves more than anything else is hard work. Just knowing that you did everything right. So I think that was super, super important. And it's something as a coach that I talk to kids all the time about. Like, hey, you might beat someone, or you might get beat today, but what happens next year and the year after and the year after is going to be decided on, how much work you put in. So I thought I was doing everything right. I was wrestling all summer long. I was going to Fargo, doing all that stuff and running, lifting with my brother. Just all the little things, nutrition, and just all the kind of things that give you a mental edge. And I think that really helps, in your biggest matches.
And, you must see that now with, the kids you're working with now are just on such an elite level. It's insane. But, I just love hearing you talk about, there's no standard for someone to join Young Guns. You don't have to be a state champ. You just have to be willing to work hard and be open to learning. And that seems like was what you did to a T. You just kept at it, and you were open to improvement and open to coaching.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so cool about wrestling that, hey, some kids, they just get it right away. And other kids, it takes them a little while. It takes them, through their junior high or high school years to things to start to click, or even, hey, maybe they had it physically, but mentally they just weren't with it yet. So I think that's super important to keep kids out for wrestling. That you don't say, oh, if you don't have it at a young age, you'll never have it. I think it's very important to just keep working. And like I said, different kids get it differently. We've had a lot of kids who are super successful right away, and we have had a lot of kids, even like a Max Murin. He was, I don't think he ever won a medal in 8th grade and below, at the state tournament. And then he's a 3-time finalist. By the time he's done, he has 2 state titles, and his senior year becomes the outstanding wrestler of the Pennsylvania State Tournament.
Wow.
It's pretty cool. Like, everyone's different in their path to success,
Well, and now, like the college guys, like if you don't win as a freshman, it's almost like you're written off, which is crazy to me. Some of the best stories. I was just talking to Zach Esposito, and I didn't realize this, but Johnny Hendricks didn't win it his first year. Either he didn't place, or if he did, it was a little bit lower in the placings. But like nowadays, if the kid doesn't win it right away, people are writing him off, which is a shame.
Yeah, that's crazy. If that is true, that's crazy.
Well, I don't know if anyone's actually doing it, but you just seem like the expectations are so much higher now because everyone's these kids are winning at the cadet worlds, the junior world, so they're coming in right away with some high expectations. Yeah. It's really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I don't want to say one state's harder than the other, or anything like that. But man, Pennsylvania, it's such a hard state. It's so competitive, and there's 2 divisions. So, I don't know. We have a lot of good kids, obviously, that didn't win it, as freshmen who continue to wrestle. And Michael Kemmer took the senior year to win it, and Caleb Young won 1 state title, and they're doing really, really well in college right now. So,
yeah.
I think that, like you said, it's just getting tougher and tougher. And I think that there's a lot of good kids and a lot of depth, in the sport right now.
No question. And it seems like there's a lot of programs that are being added, not necessarily at a couple at the D1 level, but NAI, there's a lot of schools that are being added. So I think it's overall in a good place right now. And the club that you're doing, just the amount of lives you've changed and touched is unbelievable. Did you kind of always know, like when you were wrestling at Pitt Johnstown, that you would want to coach someday?
I didn't. No, I really didn't. I always tell a story that I really wanted to get into the medical field somehow, some way, and I wasn't sure what. I broke my arm my freshman year when I was redshirting at UPJ, and I loved that part of it, like the rehab part, and I was a biology major, so I wanted to get into it somehow, but I just didn't know, and then graduated Iowa and just wanted to take a little break from school, and Eric Juergens, and he got approached about starting a club, and he was, we talked about it for a while, and I was his roommate, and next thing you know, we both moved to Michigan to start it and never looked back.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it started in Michigan. I didn't know that actually until last night when I started researching for this.
Yeah.
And so
but I always liked doing camps. I always liked working with kids and that stuff. I just thought that I would, I never thought that I would be able to do this as a job or a profession. I thought that maybe I would, coach on the side or do something, but, I thought I would get into my degree for my livelihood.
Well, now there's so many of those, so many of the academies going on. It's a whole industry now, which is something you think about, like Ernie Monaco, like those guys, and then Sean Bourmet with Overtime. Those are the early programs.
Right.
But back in the 90s, that none of that had really happened yet. And so,
Absolutely.
What made you want to transfer to Iowa? Because you were having a hell of a run at UPJ. Your brother was there. You guys had won a title.
Yep. I just think it was a perfect fit. It was just like the perfect storm came together. My brother was graduating. We had a really, really good team, and a lot of the guys were graduating on the team that year. Iowa needed a 25-pounder. Again, I loved Iowa from the beginning, but again, I was a one-time high school state champ, and back then, that was, or I guess even today, I mean, it's tougher, especially we didn't have the social medias and stuff like that. So, and then on top of that, again, the crazy thing is they had a 4-time high school state champ that they recruited for that weight. Eric Juergens was the perfect fit for Iowa, and then he moves up, struggling with weight, and he's getting bigger. So they needed a 125-pounder, and they changed the weight classes throughout those couple years, and it was just kind of a perfect fit. I talked to my college coach, and he was 100% on board. Coach Pecora, he's an amazing person, an amazing coach, and we talked, and he thought it was the right time and the right move, and he said he'd help me go anywhere I wanted to go, and decided actually that Iowa was the only place I wanted to go.
Well, it's crazy to think that Juergens used to be able to make 125. That was a crazy cut.
Yeah. Well, it was 118 when we started, so, but yeah, that's, and that would have been his freshman year. And then at Christmas time, they changed the weight to 125 and adding that 7 pounds. I was out with him a month ago or so. He was getting inducted to the University of Iowa Hall of Fame, and he talked about just even that weight change and how much it helped him. That 7 pounds that he was, it was going to be, impossible to make 118, and then they changed the weight to 125, and then again, he didn't make that very long. Then he was back up to 133. So,
wait, they changed it mid-season?
Yeah, there was 3 deaths in the fall, and at the first time that it was ever for me was at Midlands. They added the weight at Christmas time, basically. So right after Christmas, they added 7 pounds of all the weight, and they went no more night before weigh-ins. They went all 1-hour weigh-ins or 2-hour weigh-ins with tournaments and stuff. And that was kind of the change, and they did it right mid-season.
Do you think it changed weight cutting? I mean, I was never around in the 90s, but you can imagine it was pretty vicious. I mean, do you think it's gotten less over the time?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's much, much better. And again, I can't speak for everyone in every situation, but and I was just coming into it, so I just kind of saw it as a red shirt that, how crazy it was that guys would lose 20 pounds, weigh in, and then they gain the 20 pounds back by the time they wrestled. It was just crazy.
Man, that is insane.
Yeah.
And you see it now with the UFC a little bit, but they have day before weigh-ins, but I guess you guys did too, though.
Yeah, that's what it was, just like that. I mean, they would be like helping people onto the scale. They couldn't even physically get on the scale themselves. So it was bad. it was scary. And again, I just seen just a little bit of it as I was coming into the sport, the college scene, and then they changed it right away. But you hear stories about it and how crazy it was.
Man. And then you get to Iowa, and you're part of I was looking at it last night, just a stacked team. And, being from Illinois, I'm a huge fan of, Joe and TJ Williams. And, I saw he was on the team. You had Doug Schwab. Mike Zadek. That was a great couple of years you were there. What was it like coming onto that team as a transfer in? Did they welcome you right away?
Yeah, it was amazing. I just got along with the guys super good. Just everything. It was just a perfect fit, and it worked out great. The coaches, the athletes, and the partners were just. Every day you were going with a national champ, Olympian. Between the coaching staff, the Hawkeye Wrestling Club members at the time, and then the current guys on the team, and being a lightweight, it was just you could go, like I said, 2 weeks in a row with going with a different partner and getting a different look and different feel, and just going with phenomenal guys.
And was there a bit of a change coming in because? I know you were a 2-time national champ, but it was still D2 coming into the top room of the country. Yeah. Was there a transition period, or did it go right away for you?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely it was. At the same time, Coach Pecora runs an amazing program. And again, me and my brother we were fist fighting all the way growing up through, and it helped us so much. We were best friends, and then we'd start wrestling, and we'd start getting into it and fighting, and then best friends 5 minutes after. But again, I got third at Midlands my freshman year, and I won it my sophomore year for UPJ.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was capable of wrestling with them. And so sure, was it a transition? Yeah. Just again, having to show up to practice every single day and getting different looks. So like I said, and with just that caliber of guys, it made me even continue to progress and get better every single day.
That was a lineup.
Mentally, I think I was ready, and but yeah, like just the partner wise, it really helped me.
Because that was when Terry was training for the Olympics, unless you got there the year before that.
No, yep, I got there the summer of, and actually graduated. Well, I didn't graduate. I finished up my sophomore season, and basically moved out there in 99 May. So he was out there, and he was my assistant coach that whole year. So I was training with him in 99, and then 2000 he took the Nebraska job, and then actually I would meet him out in Des Moines. I'd drive halfway, and he'd drive halfway from Des Moines to or from Nebraska to Des Moines, and we'd work out there just because we again became extremely close, and I'd do anything I could to help him.
You and Terry would do that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whenever he was at Nebraska, he's still training.
I didn't know he was. I guess that was almost 20 years ago. I didn't realize he was ever at Nebraska. Okay.
Yep.
Ironic, because he used to wrestle Kelber, and those were some epic rivalries, and he was from Nebraska.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, that team you're on at Iowa, was that the lineup? Was it you, Juergens, Schwab, and then Zadek, and then TJ Williams? Was that 5 in a row?
Yeah. Yep. That was our first 5. Yeah. Yeah. And it's crazy because, that was our senior year, and we didn't win it that year. So I was in the finals. Juergens was in the finals. Schwab was in the finals. TJ was in the finals, and Zadek got third.
Man.
But, and Minnesota had 0 finalists, but they had 10 All-Americans. That was the year they had 10 All-Americans.
And that was at Carver, right?
Yeah, that was. Yep.
Wow. Talk about TJ Williams for a second, man, because that's a name a lot of people might not know now, but he's still the all-time winning percentage holder at Iowa. How good was that dude?
He was amazing. Yeah, he was so fast, so so talented, and again, he was a great teammate, great person, super helpful. Like we said before, like those guys just, from my point of view, they welcomed me and became great friends instantly. It was a great relationship we all had.
Wow, what a great time! And now that you're running Young Guns, it's the premier club in the country. You've coached, just an unbelievable amount of guys: Vincenzo, Spencer Lee, Max Mirren, Kemmerer. The list goes on and on. What is it like to run Young Guns? Because are you like coaching them in the winter? I mean, what's a typical season like for you, and how does it work, kind of from like September through the season?
It's basically all year long. So we do stuff all year long. Now some of the kids, will come 1 month, 2 months, or all year. Obviously our dedicated kids, the kids that maybe get, once you decide wrestling is my sport, I want to do that the rest of my life or whatever, or go to college for it, and they dedicate themselves, you'll see a lot of those guys all year long. So everything for Young Guns is month to month. I know some clubs or whatever, they do like sessions where it's like a 3 month or 4 month or even all year. Where Young Guns it's just month to month. And again, like I said, some of those kids do come all year long, and then some kids, only come here and there. But it's pretty much, we're doing something, whether it's camps or nightly club. We run the club actually 11 months a year, so September all the way through the end of July, till right after Fargo. Then we do a couple camps in August, 2-3 weeks of camps in August. Then we start right back up in September again. But yeah, a lot of the guys we'll see all year long. They'll go to even during season, they'll go to their high school practices. They'll go home, get a bite to eat, and get their homework, do it on the road, and we'll see them in the evenings for a later practice from like 7:30 to 9. We'll see them.
Man, that's a level of dedication and just a grind throughout the season that those kids must love, because those can be long days if you're going in. If you're doing any kind of morning work, it's dark in the morning. You get out of school at night, it's dark.
Yeah, that's right.
It's a long season.
That's right, for sure. It is, yeah. And I think that's, obviously you're always working on technique and you're doing other things, but the mental thing is extremely, extremely important. And just being around other kids like that, I think helps them also. So if they were doing it by themselves, obviously it's not going to be as easy, or it's not going to be as fun or rewarding. But man, you show up and you got 60 kids in the room that we're in the same boat as you. You don't feel sorry for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, everyone, no one's eating a huge Thanksgiving dinner. No one's going to be able to sleep in the morning. So you're getting up before school. You're going to school. You're expected to do the best you can do at school. Then you're going to your own practice. You want to be a leader there. And you go home and you get a little bite to eat. You're back on the road. And some kids have a short drive, and some kids have a little longer drive. But you still find a way, to get the job done. And I think that's important. And again, now that guys have gone through, I think that's important for younger kids to look at. That Right, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I think just the last two questions as we kind of wind down here is one, now that you're a coach, and I mean you've been a coach for 15, 20 years, and you've already had a lot of people say your club's the best in the country. What are your goals, and like how do you keep progressing as a coach kind of at this point in your life?
Yeah, I think it's really, really easy. I just, whenever I go into practice, I want to care so much about the kids. I want to care so much about how they're getting better. So it's not, and it's not to say, hey, I don't compare maybe years, hey, this year we had 2 Super 30 champs. 5 years ago we had 3. But sure, you want to compare, oh, that was one of the best years we ever had, that kind of thing. But I don't go into it saying, oh, we want to have 4 Fargo champs this year. That's our goal. Like, I don't. It's really, really, really simple. It's just, hey, who's going to show up tonight at practice? And I don't know who will or who's sick or who has a midterm, whatever, tomorrow that they won't be able to make. But whoever's there, just to care more than anything else in the world about the kids, about getting better. That obviously that to provide the best training atmosphere, for an hour and a half practice, that the kid could ever imagine. So and I think that if you do that every single day, man, you see a lot of progress. You care about the kids, you care about them on the mat, you care about them off the mat, and I think that's super, super important. So I think it's really simple. It's just every day showing up with a passion to help the kids. That's really it.
Well, that's the great thing about it. It's like if somehow you stop getting the talent that you're getting and you just are coaching like a middle school team somewhere, you would still be enjoying it because you're still just helping kids and getting close to them and helping them succeed. So it doesn't matter what really level it's at, even though you have coached some of the best kids we've seen in the past 5-10 years. And then the last thing I was going to...
I was just going to say, with club, it's just a little bit, I mean, it's different. Like, whoever shows up, like I said, is, if I was the high school coach or college coach and someone didn't show up to practice today, you're going to hunt them down and see what the heck's going on. Where, with the club, it's just different. There's a lot going on in their lives, and if they miss practice, hey, maybe they had a match that night, or, so it's really, really simple. Is whoever is there, you're just doing everything in the world to help them.
Right, exactly. Man, that's so cool to think back and look at all the kids you've coached and have helped over the years. And, one of the things we always wind the podcast down with is, if you look back over your career and someone asked you, why would you let your kid wrestle, or how has wrestling changed your life? It's always interesting to hear people's takes on it. What would you say if someone goes, hey, my kid's thinking about wrestling. I know you are a wrestler, Jody. Why would you suggest the kid wrestle?
Yeah, well, that's a great question. My son is 4. Actually, my son's 4. My daughter's 6. And so November, we start our novice program. And my son and daughter, they're going to wrestle for the first time on Monday. So they're a couple of days away from it. But just the lessons that it teaches you are just incredible. And, hey, some of them are super, super just awesome, the hard work. And you start working hard and hard and harder. And then you start getting your hand raised more, and then, hey, you see that hard work in life is paying off. And then at the other side, sometimes life's not fair. Sometimes it's, hey, you did everything right, and someone else didn't. You've been dedicating your whole life, and they didn't, and hey, it just wasn't meant to be that day. Sometimes life's not fair, and you see that in wrestling a lot. Maybe the kid that you think or you that should win doesn't. And hey, it doesn't mean you quit in life. You have to keep true to your values and the character of who you are, and just keep plugging away. So again, the life lessons it teaches you are incredible, with dedication and discipline. And we talk about making weight and different things like that. I think it really teaches you, sacrifice and all those character traits that are, instilled in you then from a young age, all the way up through. And it's who you become. It's the father you become. It's the husband you become, and that you're extremely loyal to what you believe in life. And I think that it goes with you until the day you die.
Well, don't you think the great thing about it is it teaches you, even if you do think you've done everything right, diet, your workouts, your mind, and sometimes it still doesn't work out for you, that's probably the most valuable thing, because if you realize that for the first time in your mid-20s or in your late 30s, that can be detrimental.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it teaches you at a young age, you know. And again, it's not life. It's not a loss. You can't compare a loss to, you know, getting a sickness or a cancer or something like that. But it starts to teach you at a young age, just kind of real life character.
And all great things must come to an end. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, give us a review, give us a rating, and share this with your friends. It would mean the world to us. Thanks for listening to Wrestling Changed My Life.